So, welcome. Thanks for picking me. There's like 150 speakers today, I think. So, it's an honor that you've come to hear about what I want to talk about. First of all, my name's Orsini. I'm a lead solution architect at Fivetran. And today, what I'd like to talk about is data pipelines. Now, I know there's a lot of things about AI. I will talk about AI, but I'm a data integration nerd. I've only ever done data integration. And what I want to talk today is all about pipelines, the evolution of data pipelines that have happened since I've been in this world, and how all of this is enabling customers, ourselves at Fivetran, to use AI. So, let's start with a little bit of a history lesson and an adoption timeline. This is me, plodding along. The idea of this slide is two things. You understand how the sort of data movement and data storage has evolved over the past around 10 years, and also for you to see why I have grey hair quite early on, because I've done every single one of these things. So, I'll start on the left. This is an adoption timeline. So, we started with on-prem data warehouses. It was very structured, it was very siloed, it was very expensive, but it was also hugely successful, and they still exist today, and they will exist for a long time. But we're talking SQL Server, Oracle. We were making a big comeback. MySQL, Paracel, and Netezza for some of the real data integration nerds. We then went into this, probably the wildest time of my career, Hadoop and Spark. People wanted to do big data. They wanted to use low-cost infrastructure. They wanted to do a lot more semi-structured data. I remember being on calls, but my wife used to laugh at me because I used to just say random words like pig, Uzi, zookeeper. They were all just services in Hadoop that were very hard to understand, very hard to maintain, required a lot of specialist people. I worked in big teams of Hadoop people. But a lot of that technology has moved on into the world that you see today. We then moved into the big shift that the biggest shift of moving and storing data, all around Snowflake, Redshift, BigQuery. We're all well aware of them. It started with Redshift initially, and then it sort of expanded out. But this rise of cloud data infrastructure and lack of infrastructure maintenance sort of have all the benefits of the elasticity within Hadoop without all the headache. We then had a little dabble into data lakes. So people just didn't want to move normalized data and move it into structured tables. They were thinking, cool, I want to get PDFs, I want to get files, I want to get everything, and I'm going to throw it into this data lake. And it got messy quite quickly. But all of this sort of journey has led us to the world of lakehouses. Now, lakehouse is something I'm going to sort of focus in on because it's a big play of what we're seeing at a lot of our enterprise customers. We're seeing lots of movement around Databricks, Snowflake, but vendor lock-in's becoming a big thing. And lakehouses is where we have basically the best of both. So we have these open formats, but we can do things with lots of files. We can be agnostic. We can use lots of things on top of this lakehouse. And I've done all of these. So I started off, my left side of my career, the last 10 years was Informatica. And I worked a lot on on-prem data warehouses, and I went into the Hadoop and Spark world. Then I moved into Fivetran 5 years ago with the cloud data warehouse boom. And then it went into data lakes. And now this year, the last, I'd say 12 to 18 months, we're seeing a lot more around Iceberg and Delta files and things like that. So, if I'm talking about pipelines, I have to talk about Fivetran. Now, I don't take a picture of this slide because it's 4 years old. And it's what I presented at Big Data London 4 years ago. And it's what Fivetran did in about 2020, 2021. So on the left-hand side, we used to move things, and we still do. We have a lot of pre-built connectors. When I started at Fivetran in 2021, 2020, we had around 50 pre-built connectors. We now have over 700. So in 4 years, we've built over 700 connectors in the 4 years that I've been here. But the goal was pretty simple. We wanted to normalize data, and we wanted to put it into a destination, which was often Snowflake, Databricks, BigQuery, whatever it may be. And the simplicity of this, like our ethos still remains the same. We want to keep it as simple as possible. But the idea is that we do that through different ways because the right-hand side is changing. So like I said, the left side it's got bigger. There's loads more SaaS applications. There's loads more databases. There's loads more technology. That's fine. Like, we have to deal with that. But the right-hand side has shifted quite a lot, and that's all linked to this AI type of thing. So that's what Fivetran was in 2020, 21. Fivetran today is a little bit more complicated, which is good for my job as a solution architect, because my job is boxes and lines. I have a lot more boxes and lines to play with. So before, it was very copy and paste. Now we do a lot more in that. So the sources, like I said, we have over 700 sources. But now we move data to many things. I'm going to focus in on data lakes today. Like before, I could do Fivetran in 25 minutes. I can't cover all of what we do within 25 minutes today. So I had to pick something, and I've picked data lakes. But we have data models, which I touch upon, but we also have required sensors, which is all around reverse ETL. So it's now not just going to warehouses or lakes. How do you get that back into your applications? And this slide is even out of date, even though I did it not long ago, because we acquired a company called Tobico Data, which is all around transformations as well. And they're over in that hall there if you want to talk about Tobico Data. So we are expanding as a platform. We went from copy-paste to a lot more around governance, security, reverse ETL, data transformations. All of this is required to keep up with this crazy moving world. This is year 8 of me doing Big Data London. I even did the 2020 virtual one, because I love Big Data London. And all of this changes every single year. The stage names change, everything changes. So we try and keep up with that. The reason I want to focus on data lakes today is basically because data lakes are central in this paradigm shift. So you'll see a lot more news articles around Databricks support Tabular for Iceberg. Teradata's doing open table format. Polaris Catalog's going open source. All of this is leading to a bit of a shift in our enterprise customers of moving to a data lake. And using that, more the tools around just query engines, but you have a central data lake within that. So, like, just for everyone to be on the same page, because people talk about lake houses, they talk about data lakes and all that side of things. What we do here is we have a separation of storage and compute, which you'll think, well, Snowflake do that, Databricks do that. But the big difference is there's not a vendor lock-in in that. If you load data into Snowflake, it goes into the external storage underneath. The idea of a data lake is that you put it into a format, Iceberg or Delta Lake. There's a data catalog on top of that, and that can be lots of different data catalogs. There's Polaris, there's many. I don't want to list them all. But that central storage layer allows you to have many consuming services without having to move it multiple times. So I have a customer right now. Well, there's a few examples of this. The reason for this is when I was at a big oil company implementing some data integration, they had teams that were like, oh, we love AWS, oh, we love Azure. And that was sort of the cloud war starting. And I would be like, well, isn't that a pain? Like, you have people that want to learn this, you have to train people into multiple things. If they want to use one data set for 2 different things, you have to move it into here, then you have to move it into here. And they were like, yeah, it is a pain, but when it comes to renewal, we don't have to. We could say, well, actually, we've got an Azure footprint, AWS, so we might move some more stuff over there. Oh, Azure, we have a footprint, we can move stuff over to AWS. So it was a tactic in terms of not having a cloud locking vendor, and that we're seeing happen more. Like, and that's driven by price, but also by like team preferences. So big pharma company that I'm working on right now, they have a team that likes Databricks, they have a team that likes Snowflake, they have a team that likes Starburst, but they want to move that data once. And this completely open format allows you to do that. So that's why Fivetran thinks that this is the future in terms of getting AI. It allows you to do unstructured data, structured data, but it also stops vendor lock-in, and you can start to use whatever application your teams wish to use. Now, a data lake isn't simple to do. Like, it looks simple. I'm like, just throw it into a file and put a catalog on top of it. But actually converting all of that, you often have to have a warehouse running. So if you were to ingest into Snowflake, you'd have a warehouse running. If you have Databricks, you have a warehouse running. The idea that Fivetran's come up with is that we have a fully managed data lake service. So what we do in all of this is we actually move the data, we store it into Parquet, and then we store the metadata in Delta Lake format or in Iceberg format. And then it's completely up to you in terms of what you do with that data. but we're just going to put it into a low-cost storage layer and put some metadata along it. We have a catalog that you can use, but you can write our catalog to whatever catalog you choose to use as well. So the idea of this is, again, to give sort of autonomy to all your business users, that they can just go to this data. We don't have to, you save money in terms of compute processes to ingest data. There's no need for that. We do all of that. And then it loads into ACID compliant, ready for data tables. Now, I'm talking all around like RAG ready in a bit and all of that, but a lot of the use cases we still see are query ready, just dashboards and people wanting to do analytics on data. So that's why we're trying to see sort of the shift. It hasn't happened in terms of all AI, and I'll come into that in a minute. But this allows you to run both without having to ingest costs and things like that. So AI is the hot topic of Big Data London this week. So I couldn't do a presentation without mentioning it. I'm still all for data, and you'll see what happens when I talk about that. But it wouldn't be Big Data London without a stat. So this is around the evolution of data management by Gartner, which was last year. So I imagine it's higher now. Is that 75% of organizations want AI-ready data. It's their top investment area. AI is great, but people are trusting it because it's like a human interaction. People trust the response a lot more, and we're seeing a lot more decisions made. I'm sure everyone's used ChatGPT or Gemini and then gone, actually, that's not right. And you start to question it a bit more. It is happening, but data and context is very important when it comes to AI. But people are investing in that area. And we have a great relationship with Databricks. And we had a podcast with Ali and our founder, George. And people don't realize there's models everywhere. We've got Claude, we've got OpenAI, we've got a lot of things all ready to go. But the secret sauce that makes it all work is data, which is why I'm very much a data nerd. I'm not very fun at parties. I'll just talk about data integration. That's all I've ever done. But it's seeing like the importance of it grow and grow. Every time I come to Big Data London, there's always a bit of a governance theme or something like that, but underlying data, data, data. And that's where Fivetran, just to call back our sort of mission, this is our like mission statement that's in our offices and things like that. We wanted to make it as simple as possible. So although the world's getting a lot more complicated with data, we don't want it to be complicated from a data ingestion perspective. We want to take that complexity away, and we want to take in that lock-in as well. So how do we do that? So when we started, we were very good at moving structured data. Our first ever connector was a Salesforce connector. It's still our most popular connector. And we moved structured data very well. But it was quite simple, right? So we have API endpoints. We normalize that data. We load it into Snowflake, or we load it into Databricks. We're now seeing a bit more of an evolution. Like AI wants more data, and it wants conversational data. And it wants more of this unstructured data to build context, to build input from everyone. Now, our idea is to make access to unstructured data as easy as structured data. That was going to be the title of this whole presentation, but I had to get some AI in there somewhere. So this easy access, so we have structured data. This is all the connectors that we do. But there's things like Zendesk conversation data. There's things like surveys. There's files. There's lots of things underneath all these unstructured files that need to move as well. And that can get quite complicated. We tried to do it into data lakes, and everyone got a bit tied up, and everyone said data swamp for about a year and a half. The idea of this is that we bring the best of both worlds, and because of the AI analysis and the way that we're going to use this data, it doesn't become a swamp. It becomes very context-rich data for your organization. So what do I mean by that? So like I said, Fivetran used to be a lift and shift type of thing. But now we need to get data into more of an AI format. And what we do, we bought a transformation company to Bcode, but you can run this on dbt, you can run this on Coalesce and things like that. But what we try and do is we know what the data format looks like. So we've got thousands of Zendesk connectors, for example. We've got thousands of Salesforce connectors. So what we've done is we've created models on top of that. We lift, we shift, and we run some modeling on top of that. And what that does is it chunks that data, but it attaches metadata to all that chunk. So this gives the all-important context of what we need when you're creating things like chatbots and things like that. So we've chunked conversational data, we've we've organized it, we've put metadata along each side of the chunk, so you can, when you type into your chatbot, show me the most urgent, it knows that, okay, this is urgent and this is the chunk, and it can run all your vector embedding and all the AI stuff, which we'll cover in a moment, on top of that data. But this is all done automatically. You don't have to worry about any of this. So we want to make it as easy as possible to do that. And extracting and servicing that metadata just allows you to be like context heavy. We've done a chatbot app and we've open sourced all of that. So internally within Fivetran, we have our own chatbot app, and although it uses a model, an OpenAI model, it has all the context. We have internal knowledge bases, we have Slab articles, we have every support ticket that's ever been raised to Fivetran, we have all our code. We put that all into our model using our connectors. Fivetran does use Fivetran. And we've created our own chatbot app inside of that, and we've given access to people to use that. So the idea of this is that we build it in-house, and then we want customers to use this as easy as possible. So now I've spoken about the left-hand side, and it does get pretty similar. Structured data, unstructured data. Fivetran, like I said, we'll do the metadata. We'll talk about RAG ready. We'll talk about low latency. Fivetran can run on-premise, can run in the cloud. All of that's fine, but it's more what we want to do on the right-hand side now. So, like I said, with the data lake, we can normalize the data as we do with all our connectors. We attach metadata in multiple formats for you to use. We also do modeled query-ready data. So like I said, you have query engines at the top that can tap into your lake, whether that's Databricks, Snowflake, BigQuery, whatever it may be, and you can query that data. But also, we have that RAG-ready model as well, and that feeds into this Gen AI and LLM stuff that we're talking about, and we have files as well. So all of that RAG-ready stuff that I'm talking about allows you to build vector embeddings, search and retrieval models, LLMs. These are all openly available. They're embedded into Snowflake, they're embedded into Databricks. You can have it in-house, whatever you desire. But the idea is that the data shouldn't have to be so complicated to get into it. And we've seen that data goes out of date very, very quickly. And we've seen that in our own chatbot things. So like a Zendesk ticket 4 years ago would say, we don't support that source. And then it's given that context of, actually, we do now support that source. So how does it work out? All of that can get wrong information to our support people. People don't understand, but people trust it. People very much trust AI, and it's causing a lot of issues at a lot of customers because of this data evolution and sort of the normalized side of things. How long have I got before I go into a rant? Okay, I've got time. I've got 5 minutes. So, with that in mind, I've spoken a lot about AI and how it's changing on the right-hand side, but the most common question I get asked, probably in the last 12 months, is why not use AI for data pipelines? So all the API endpoint documentation is there. You can point a model to it. You could say, create a connector from this API documentation and load it. And so people are thinking, hang on, if I can AI all the side things of chatbots, why can't I do AI with data pipelines? Now, you could absolutely do that. And I think for some of the simple connectors, this will happen. And I'll talk about what we're doing at Fivetran with AI. Of course, we would use it to build our connectors. But the real cost that we found, we have about 450 engineers working on connectors. The AI model does build an OK connector. We've been testing it for about 9 months, our AI project. Our goal is that you go into Fivetran and you say, give me your API documentation, give me some context, and I'm going to build this, and then I'm going to host that connector in our Fivetran environment. So no infrastructure, you give us the endpoint, we'll build a connector for it, we'll deploy it on our infrastructure in any cloud that you desire, and we'll run that connector for you, and we'll take care of the right Parquet, Snowflake, Databricks. That's the goal of Fivetran, to get those sort of what we call long-tail connectors. We have over 700, but every week I hear a source that I've never heard of, or an in-house solution that people don't have, that we've never heard of. So what we do is we've tried this, and it's about 70% accurate. The real cost is all around the maintenance, performance, change management, security. We're working with an AI-generated app creator, and their concern is that AI cannot create code securely yet. So it does do code quite well, but it's not secure. It's not built in the latest security methodologies, all of the stuff that's very important in this day and age. I'm sure if anyone's traveled in an airport this week, they've probably seen the importance of security. So half of our job is maintaining 700 connectors. It's not building another 100 and another 100. We have to watch out constantly for any changes for all that. And the other thing is that we have an IP from, I think we have about 7,000 customers now, I want to say. And we have insight into what's valuable, even beyond what a data engineer might be doing on an AI. So we know what's important to customers. We know what goes wrong. If a Salesforce connector has an issue, it impacts several thousand people in our world, and we can learn all of that, and we plug that into the models that we're creating to try and create AI pipelines. But what it won't do, it will deliver something, but it won't deliver query-ready or AI-ready or Parquet in Delta Lake formats, Parquet in Iceberg formats out of the box. So can it be done? Yes. But is it something we've been able to crack ourselves? No. But what I would say is that one of our biggest customers is OpenAI. So if those guys don't, I'll talk about OpenAI case study in a moment, but you'd think that those guys would use AI to build connectors, but they actually use Fivetran, and they use our connector SDK. And our connector SDK means you can build any connector that you like. We have a lab over by the Fivetran stand where you can build your own connector SDK. So you can build your own custom connector, and you can get it up and running in 15 minutes. And OpenAI uses our connector SDK, along with other connectors, which I'll show. So even the biggest AI companies don't use AI for building pipelines. We've been able to shift a lot of that work to the further down the line, like models and things like that. So they're probably like the hottest topic company at the moment. I'm sure a lot of people use ChatGPT, whether it's in business or personally. So what we do, which might terrify some people, is that we move all the conversation, everything that you put into ChatGPT, we move that conversation data, which is sat in a Cosmos DB, into Snowflake and Databricks. And what they do is they use that to do product enhancements and things like that. But they are a company in themselves, right? So they have things like HubSpot, Stripe, Salesforce, Kafka. So all of these type of connectors they use for a Fivetran use case. They had to do some things around supporting deletes for regulatory compliance, so we had to help them with that. But we do the day-to-day operations of Asana, Stripe, Salesforce, and more. Like I said, this sort of pipeline mess, like I like it, but a lot of people don't like it. They like dashboards, they like to build models, they want to build chatbots, they want to do something further down the line. And so we've been able to move some of that headcount of people wasting time, breaking pipelines, and they're working more on the modeling and working on this Cosmos DB feedback loop that they're getting from the ChatGPT stuff. So we are helping some of the biggest AI companies in the world simplify data ingestion. With that in mind, I want to loop back, because I've sort of thrown lake houses, I've thrown what Fivetran does, I've thrown case studies at you. Like the world, so when I did Big Data London 8 years ago when I was at Informatica, it was quite a simple world. There wasn't 100 stages. There wasn't nowhere near as many booths. I think it was only this room. And we were talking about moving data into the new Oracle Cloud and things like that. The world has become very complex. Although it looks like front end to the end user, that it's got a lot more simpler, it's still become very complicated. And we at Fivetran don't think ingestion needs to be. It's very complicated for us. Like, our job's not nice. Like, we have a lot of people saying that, you know, this is broken, we want to support this source, or we have to make sure that everything's accurate, because people are making huge decisions on the data that's been moved, whether that's a dashboard or a chatbot or whatever you want to call it. So what we've seen is that there's a big shift in unstructured data, so like parsing documentation, and this is feeding AI. Like, the models don't get created just by normalized data in a database. There's a huge amount of unstructured data out there. It can become very messy, and it can be quite difficult to move. But trying to make that as simple as possible. We're progressing. It's not a one-click solution, as you can see. You have to run a model on top of it. But we are progressing. We think that's a big game changer in all of this. We think that we are in the best place. We are one of the most successful ELT tools in the industry, and we're very good at building connectors. And we think breaking that vendor lock-in of a huge renewal somewhere and having it just agnostic in a storage layer with an open catalog, you do what you want to do. If you want to have another pipeline loaded into that open lake, fine. Like, there's no issue for us whatsoever. And I suppose I've seen it a lot. I always have a walk around on the first day, and I've seen like AI is only as good as the data you put in on a lot of stands and things like that. I think it's becoming more and more common for that message to come across. People are making decisions on the wrong type of data, out-of-date data. But the foundation, as Ali said, it's the secret sauce is what's underneath. The open source models have the context of the internet, but they don't have your business context. Context in AI is everything. And if you don't give it the right prompt or it doesn't have the right context, it will confidently give you the wrong answer. It will very happily say, great question. Yeah, it's this. But it's all on the context that it has. So what I would say is that always watch what your data foundation is. I'll throw, my marketing manager said to put the booth. We have 2 booths. So like I said, we have a lab where you can build a connector within Fivetran. There's a connector SDK. We also have demos on stand where you can see all the data lakes and things in action. And I'll hang around here or outside here for a few questions. So if you have any questions at all, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. I'm on the stand the rest of the day. I have lots of customers doing AI projects. I have lots of customers moving into data lakes. So if you want anything around that, we have the team of solution architects willing to help you. And I hope you found that session useful. Thanks all.